Yeah. Is it?
Good morning, Ecom.
Still can't do that.
One of these days, if we ever get close to any kind of monetization of any of this, we do this for free, David and I. So maybe I'll have to stop doing that one day.
Yeah.
But can
until that
you
point,
copyright that? Can you though?
all you're doing is saying something.
Good
You're just
morning,
saying
Ecom.
words. Right.
Good morning, Ecom. I mean,
And you
I
just
say
put
that-
emphasis on the front end of it. I don't see anything wrong with it.
I mean, it's a little flair. Leave it to me for a little accent, right?
Yeah. You're just making it sound better. It sounds better than "Good morning, Ecom."
Good morning, Ecom. That's
It
straight.
sounds a lot better.
I mean, hey, I'm with you, Dave. Oh wait, I better get in full podcaster mode. There we go. There we go. That's if the
Now you're
mic's
looking
not
good.
right. It's the angles. I have actually played with different camera angles, but the problem is what you can't see is around you. It's not so organized. I was being honest. I'm not.
We don't know that though. All we
not
see is
yet.
your one shelf. It looks good.
I got the shelf here with Petey, little Petey bird over here.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, what you can't see is my daughter has done some 3D printing. She's a pre-engineer, and she's got a bunch of 3D printed little trinkets I keep over here too. So
That's cool.
shout out to my daughter, the 16-year-old engineering student.
Nice. Very nice.
They are crazy smart these days. And speaking of crazy smart, welcome Apple. Hey guys.
Wow.
Whoa.
Apple, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for
Welcome,
welcoming
Apple.
us.
All of Apple employees were celebrating when they saw intangible commerce was coming their way. They couldn't believe it.
There's a big cake in the break room. It says intangible
was.
commerce.
I didn't send it, of course. They made it themselves. It wasn't something
they
that I
would've.
sent over to them.
Yeah.
Dude, we have a lot to cover. So we are on the cusp of a total UPS shutdown of their nationwide delivery operation. Let's be clear, it's not the trucking union. All these, there's different types of unions, right, that they have. But this one in particular is the biggest impact to us, the consumer, because anybody who's shipping through UPS, I mean, they're not going to be delivering anything. They're practicing. Let's put that in perspective. They're going to work, they're doing their regular job, and then before or after, they're practicing the picket line.
Wow. You got to make it right? If you're going to do something, do it 100%.
That's where we are right now. And I have, I'm not going to go into any personal information, but I have firsthand account of the type of discrimination that the UPS labor union employees face, where if you make one mistake, and I mean the tiniest of mistakes, and even if it wasn't your fault, let's say you had a must deliver today by 10 a.m. package on your truck and you didn't deliver it by 10 a.m. because nobody told you it was there, you could be fired on the spot same day.
Wow. Yeah,
Imagine.
that is tough working conditions. And and a lot of times people get in debates around unions and whether they're good or whether they're needed and that sort of thing. And I can't speak to it. I don't live in really a union heavy state, so it's not something that comes up often. But also, I've never been in a union myself or had the need to, I should say. And so it's hard for me to look at that and make a informed opinion, if you will, about whether or not that's needed. But like what you just said, stuff like that, I mean, that's 101 to me in business. I mean, you have protections. I mean, you should. I mean,
and that's why the unions exist in these type of environments, right? They have to be there to protect the people. Now, there are, like with anything, there's good and bad, if you could look at it that way. But when it comes to work like that, let's call it like, if I were to silo it and say, hey, heavy labor intensive work, like a UPS driver, everybody, oh, you just drive around delivering packages. Dude, these guys are out there in the minus 30, in the plus 110 degree weather.
They're out here right now,
right, with no air conditioning, no heating, jumping in and out all day every day. I couldn't imagine sitting in a heat box, 110 degrees outside in the humidity. I got lost the word in the
Yeah.
humidity.
Oh, it's bad.
I'd die.
Yes.
Like,
No, totally. Yeah, that would be really tough.
we wouldn't have a podcast, that's for sure. I mean,
Nope. Yep. There's yeah. Well, we would. It would just be you doing that, and me asking you questions, and always saying, "What do you think, Ray?" Exactly. And then we just move on.
it'd be a weekend at Bernie's. You have like a little button you push, and it like shakes my
Like,
chair.
raises your hand. Ray, do you agree with that? Yes, I do. Yeah, a thumbs up. Ray, if you or what about not to get off on that, but it's like, Ray, if you don't want me to say this, raise your hand.
Doesn't do anything.
Don't raise your hand. That's funny.
It's just all right. Well, he gave me permission, so it's not my fault.
I can say it.
I take the blame for all the controversy anyway, and I'm happy to do it.
Mm,
So,
man.
what do you think then? If we take it into what's the impact of that, and how do we, the consumer, prepare for that? Do I look for people who only use FedEx? Do I get that option to only use FedEx? I know it's Prime Day right now too,
Yeah,
and Amazon doesn't typically use UPS anyway, but
they do, but
they
I don't know
could.
what percentage they do. I get some UPS packages from Amazon.
Yeah, so
But I
I
don't
guess
know.
it depends on the area. Locally,
does.
it's always an Amazon truck that delivers
Yes,
Amazon
correct.
packages in
That is
Louisville.
correct. That's correct. So I'm going to take this a different direction because thinking about that,
Okay.
but staying within it.
No, let's go.
Do companies do these type of things? Either are companies ready for it? In other words, let's say I'm a gigantic fulfillment company,
Right.
and I know at any time UPS could go on strike, FedEx. Do I have a DHL e-commerce option ready just in case? I don't know.
Well, and DHL e-commerce isn't that big in a lot of areas too. I don't see them that often. Like especially here in Louisville, there isn't a presence. Even though there is a DHL office, it's an international office. They don't do a lot of package delivery here locally. It does make you wonder, where are our alternatives? We live in a country that's full of abundance, right? Plenty of companies doing plenty of different things. Why are there no alternatives? UPS,
Right.
FedEx, USPS.
Yep.
That's it.
And you have your regionals, that you could use
Right.
for overnight. Now, I guess the other thing that we got to make sure that we sort of break out of this is: are we talking overnight, right? Are we talking ground delivery? Because ground delivery opens up. Oh, let me go back. Overnight, what you just said makes perfect sense. You're limited. I'm sorry, 3 or 4 that I can think of, and then you have your regionals. But you get into ground delivery, you just open up a whole new ballgame. You got the USPS, you got all the innovations, mail innovations, and things like that,
Yeah.
which obviously would go through those companies. But I'm not sure how all that gets affected. And then you even have your local couriers and things like that. I don't know. I don't know how that breaks down if you're a business owner, what that looks like.
I know it's going to be difficult for folks, and they're limited by the availability in that area.
Yes.
That you're pretty much
Rural
choked
areas.
out, right?
Yeah.
Like, who are you going to use in the middle of, I don't know, let's say Utah?
No, it's true.
Get
I
a
can
whole
think
lot.
of 3. I mean, you got FedEx, UPS, and USPS, and I'm making, this is my opinion, but I would figure UPS tends to be more in rural areas than FedEx, but that's probably not true. I'm sure they all, I don't think one of them would want the other one to have the advantage, but I just feel like
Absolutely.
I see UPS trucks way out. But no, I totally.
UPS has been kicking FedEx's butt in a lot of areas, including the stock market. It's been really interesting. I actually did an article on that a few months back, just about how that that whole thing played out. But there is some other e-commerce news. You ever heard of Roku?
Yep. Don't have
Yeah.
one, but I've heard of them.
So I think it's going to become more common because they now have a partnership with Shopify. Shopify is allowing people to buy products, of course, online, enabling that whole process. Roku said, hey, what if we put your shopping platform on our TV so people can shop on their TV?
Wow.
Without even, I mean, you can go to your phone, I guess, if you wanted to, but you can now use Shopify's e-com marketplace on your TV if you have a Roku.
So that's interesting, but I'll tell you the interesting impact of that as well is just as an example. I'm not a Roku guy. I do Amazon Fire Sticks or whatever, but I was on my TV the
They're
other
not
day, and
jailbroken for the record.
no,
Amazon,
absolutely
you're
not. I
listening.
would never do that. And I don't have any Napster music either, from back in the
Oh,
90s.
no, we don't
No,
condone. We don't
no,
condone.
none of that. Do not do that. But I was watching TV and an ad came up on the TV and it said, "Hey, you need this new Fire TV remote." And I'm like, "Well, that's kind of cool." And it said, "Click here to order." And I'm like, and so half of me was interested in the remote and half of me was interested in what would happen if I clicked the button. Well, I clicked the button and it ordered it and I had the remote and I love it. But
There
think
you go.
about that. One click and it already had my attention. That's
Just one.
crazy.
Just one. Now, I think what's even more concerning as a parent is that is in the hands of my children.
Correct. And really, mine are locked out by. Oh, my kids are older, but you know what I mean. I would lock it out with a password if you do it.
Right.
But you're right. What if you don't?
There are people out there who don't think that way.
No,
And they wait.
I've heard the stories. Didn't you hear the story about that one family that the kid ordered like I forget how many things on Amazon on Alexa?
Well, and I heard about the one on the gaming apps where that allows in-game purchases, and there's no sort of wall to it. So this kid racked up $40,000 in some little kid game purchase.
Wow,
Crazy.
That'll get you booted out of my house.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
bad.
that they sorted it out in some way, but still,
yeah,
just that ability.
Well, and it is so. Going back to the Roku, I mean, I think you know how everything we do always has another, like the cars. Cars have gotten to a point where wow, what's next? And now they self-drive and they have heads-up displays and blah blah blah, right? I
Right.
think fulfillment now is how do we make it even easier? Well, we stick it on your devices where it almost knows what you're into. Oh, you're working on your car? Hey, have you ever seen this tool? Click.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's where we're at.
Well, and the opt out, right? It's BS. I still get those things where I can be talking about. So I'll actually give you an example. I don't have Facebook, my wife does. And I don't know, I think Facebook has a setting where you can stop the microphone from listening to you. But it is an actual setting you have to click. And she would be talking about, let's say we go to a baby shower. So you're saying the word baby a bunch because you're at a baby shower, right? And then all of a sudden she's getting all these ads for baby stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're talking about a TV or a movie or whatever, then all of a sudden you're getting ads for that TV, that movie, or a streaming service, and it's got that TV or movie as the marquee. It's insane the amount of data that's being collected on people every day. Like, if you opened it up, they could predict what you're going to have for dinner before you even know what you're going to have for dinner.
You know, we are the product. People got to realize that.
Yeah.
The other thing, I just recently signed up. My car insurance just went way up, and it's not me. I'm a good driver. I have good credit. I mean, all those. Yeah. You like go. Sure,
I've seen it. He's great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You see. But no, I'm serious. I'm my parents back when I was younger, right? I'm that person. I'm just a normal everyday, driver. Anyway, rates went up, trying to figure out what's going on. Well, I asked my insurance, they're like, "Oh, well, if you do these beacons in your car and they can track your mileage and everything and your driving habits, it can lower your rate significantly." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll bite because I want to save the money." But I'm like, "Why do you now everywhere I go, everywhere I'm doing, all my driving habits." But then again, they're like, "Well, your phone already knows that anyway, and your car." And I'm like, "Very true. I'm not dumb to that. I know that's the case." So, I mean,
absolutely. Well, and while we're talking about being abusive and being abused, let's talk about e-commerce fraud. And not in the way that you might be thinking. Not consumers getting scammed, but sellers, merchants getting scammed. There was a global study done. It was looking at scams over the last 12 months, and it polled 1,900, nearly 2,000 global fraud professionals from different countries in businesses with over 50 million in revenue. And this is the Global Fraud Trends 2023 study. If anybody wants to look it up, Global Fraud Trends 2023 study, you can find that on Google. And it revealed a shocking number, 59% rise in online fraud.
Wow.
Just over half was account takeovers, which we can get into. But what I wanted to talk about was two things: promotion abuse and refund abuse. And anybody out there who's an e-commerce merchant knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's when a client that's going on your site to buy something figures out that you have a promotion, and there are certain ways to abuse that promotion and make that order come through for much, much less than what they intended. And that's website workarounds where it doesn't catch the promotion code, or it allows stacking of promotion codes, which if it's a 30% discount, now it's 60, now it's 90. And now they owe you money.
That's right.
And the other is refund abuse. And that's where you just go to your credit card company and say, that wasn't me. I didn't make that purchase. Goes into a pile. Like we said on that one episode, the FBI is so bogged down, they're never going to look at it. And people know this, right? That's why package thievery is so popular, because the police simply can't look into it. It's petty theft. They don't care if it's a $20 package. It's important to you, but to them, it's like you stole a pack of gum. They don't care.
Yep.
Deal with it.
Yep. You know, I had my PayPal account taken over last week after I made a purchase, and it was the most odd thing. Now, nothing happened, and you're fairly secure, which is the whole reason I use PayPal. Just I'm not plugging PayPal, but whatever. I just
shout out PayPal, friend of the show.
No, you owe us, friend of the show.
Yeah.
And they, everything was cool. They never made any purchases on it. But check this out, right? They literally took my account like my logins never changed. So when I went to go make another purchase, I logged in like I always do. I mean, I hate to say I'd purchase a lot of stuff online, but I do. If my wife's listening,
we all know by now.
And I was shocked. Right. I was shocked. I logged in and it was new. I'm like, where's all my stuff? Well, then I called PayPal and they sorted out. They go, oh, they had created like 3 different accounts, all brand new.
Wow.
But yet my account that was still active, someone else owned it under another email address that wasn't even mine. I'm like, how does that happen? So then I went and did. I'm shout out to doing multi-factor and all that stuff. You have to do
two-factor authentication, folks. Make sure you have it done.
Please do that and get a LastPass and do good passwords, or whoever you want to use for passwords. Anyway, so that happened to me. So that actually an authenticator app. That's right, and that actually happened to me. So I can tell you that it was easy to fix, but just I'm still boggled by how it happened, and I don't know. I have no answer for it.
That is the thing of it, it is scary that's the case, but it's very real. Multi-billion-dollar business. So shout out to two-factor authentication. Very secure with that, and the authenticator app as well.
Yeah, you can use it. Google has one. It's really easy to set up too. I mean, easy to use.
Google's is really good. Microsoft is really good. I know that a lot of places are even going password lists where it's just going to be an authenticator app.
That's right. Well, I was also going to say, if you're younger and have older parents, help your parents or grandparents. They're the ones that are probably, I bet if you took that survey that you were talking about, I bet it's the older folks that are getting scammed.
Oh, well, yeah, old folks get scammed at a much higher rate. The one I was talking about was actually e-commerce companies being scammed.
Oh, the companies, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Which is significantly raised.
How does that relate to, okay, and you were saying too about the return side, and my mind immediately went to a different side of returns, which was returns as far as people abusing returns back to the sellers too. Like returning too much.
The huge costs, right? And I think we covered that a few weeks back. It was in the billions. It was an insanely high number, which makes sense as to why people are charging for them, because it's, at some point, or just say, hey, dude, just keep it because I don't want it back.
Yeah.
Depending on your margin level, just
Yep.
keep it. Like if it's a really nice baseball bat, you're gonna want it back. But if it's like a, I don't
Oh
know, like
yeah.
a pack of batteries. Oh, sorry, wrong size batteries. Just keep it. And people know that, right? So when the word gets out, there are Reddit groups for it, right? When the
Oh
word
yeah.
gets out that you're the type of company that just says, "Hey, man, just keep it," then people are going to tell other people, "Hey, if you buy these batteries," and then you go and tell them, "Oops, sorry, wrong size," they'll tell you to keep it and send
Mm-hmm.
you the right ones for free. You get a free pack of batteries. I'm being facetious with the batteries, but you get where I'm going.
Yes.
T-shirts are the most popular thing for that to happen to, because as a former T-shirt online seller, I can tell you the margins, depending on the types of shirt you're selling, they're okay, but not good enough for me to get pay $6 to bring it back after I
Mm-hmm.
print the label. And I'm thinking from the mindset of, if people say, "Oh, it's $6 to ship a T-shirt," you're crazy. The customer service time it takes to generate the label, you got to email the label, make sure they get the label. They're going to ask you about packaging. By the time you do all that, you're spending a little bit more than $6 in total time plus label costs,
Oh. Oh,
plus
huge.
labor to put it back onto the shelf. So it's not
Huge.
worth the effort.
Yep. And that's why you want to avoid any self-caused errors in your warehouse before
That
anything,
would be a
right?
good idea. If only there was a tool that you could tell us about, David, that solved that challenge.
I
Do
think,
you
let
know
me
of
see if
any?
I can, yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can find
He's
one
gonna
here.
Google it
Oh,
real
wait.
quick while you're. Oh, you got it. You got it quick. That was
I,
fast.
I found one. I found one. I just remembered that I know one. It's called Lodua.
Whoa!
Shout out to Lodua.
Whoop,
Um,
whoop, whoop, whoop.
yeah, whoop, whoop. Yeah, if you want to make sure your operation can not have those mistakes, you can't help what people are going to do, but you can sure help what your internal folks do and save all that money that comes around with being efficient. And my favorite thing is do more with less. In
Mm.
other words, take your current staff. Imagine taking your current staff and adding 20, 30, 40, 50% more. I don't know, depending on the operation. You can do that with Lodua. We've got the
Power.
D2C fulfillment power built into Lodua. Yes. So
That's
check us out.
fantastic.
Yeah, check us out on the web. Call Ray, call me. There's other folks that work for us too. You can call.
There's a lot of folks.
You can call us.
Check us out, lajiwa.com, or comment below to wherever you're seeing this. And Ray or
Yep.
David, I'm Ray. He's
Yes.
David. We'll reach out.
Yes.
We'll talk with you. Understanding the business needs. I think really when I think about the things that people don't consider when they're buying new software, it is the major impact. And when I say, so let's talk about micro versus macro impact. The
Mm-hmm.
micro impact of a return is the obvious. It's the shipping label. You're getting a shipping label, you're sending it, and then blah, 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 comes
Mm-hmm.
back. The macro of that is generating the label, the customer service time to get all that done. Then when it gets there, you got to put it away, right? So you're paying someone to pick the item, put it away, pick it again.
Yes. And then remember, there could be got to put it over here first. I can't sell it till it's QC. There's a QC process. Got to
QC
contact the
process.
manufacturer. Who knows? I mean, I love going down no paths with going down that path with folks on
Yeah.
calls to say, do you really realize when you do make a mistake? And really, you can't help what the consumer's going to do because hopefully maybe they charge a restock. I mean, let's just separate those out. The consumer's going to do what the consumer's going to do. You got to decide how much of that you want to absorb. But when you're self-creating the error because of a bad system, bad process, bad employees, and I hate to use the word bad, but there are
Well,
bad
it's
people out
true.
there,
It's out there. It's out there.
and you are creating a mess. And it is not just the return label. It's the labor that most people have no clue what they're spending.
No clue at all. I actually talked to somebody a few weeks back, and they had an employee. They have an instance where they didn't want to spend the money on having two logins for two people, so they were sharing a login, right? So login one or person one would use it in the morning, person two would use it in the afternoon, and what they started to realize was person two in the afternoon was way slower than person one in the morning. But person one in the morning was really fast, really efficient. So overall, the number looked pretty good. The average picks is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But this person in the afternoon was picking 50% less. So they're meandering about the warehouse. Yeah, pick a packet, right? Break down the cost of a user. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
let's say it's $100 a month for a user,
Mm-hmm.
$125 a month, or even $250 a month for a user.
Sure.
You take that, divide it by 22 days, because that's the average amount of working days in a month, in an average. You're talking about $11.36 per day that it
Wow.
would cost to have an additional user at $250 a user.
Wow.
Tell me that you can't find $11.36 in value
That's right.
by having that extra user. Tell
That's
me
right.
you can't. And then
Yep.
don't buy it. If that's the case, you don't need it.
That's
I
right.
mean,
Or my favorite ones are when you have a solution or a situation. I saw this yesterday live at a customer site where the system doesn't do a good job of tracking eaches versus cases, and they had an order come over for like 30. Well, guess what they sent? 30 cases,
oh,
not 30
whoa.
eaches.
I'm going
Big
to order something
difference.
from those guys and start an Amazon business.
Exactly. So
Wow.
just think about that. All that stuff relates back down into your user, the training, and the solution you're using. If those three things don't align, you got problems.
You got big problems in a very big way. And speaking of problems, you ever heard of TikTok? You know what that is?
Yep. I will say though, I do not have it. Never have. But I know what it is. Yeah, I know you're on it.
I do have a TikTok for my sub-content channel, The Real Ray Roberts. Check me out on YouTube, TikTok, and everywhere else social media is found. TikTok had an online shopping that they started launching. They really wanted to compete with Amazon. They even have a warehouse out in California, for those who don't know. And they have kind of stalled a little bit. I think they really thought they were going to have a big year in 2023. So they increased sales up 49% in 2022 over their previous sales. But that has dropped from 34% this year. So their increase is not going the way they thought it would go. Now, not sure what that's on the back of, if it's just people aren't buying as much. You got to think of who's the average user of TikTok, though. It's not people like me. It's kids, it's children, and very young people, right? Like,
correct.
say maybe 25-ish.
Yeah,
I think
millennial.
probably. Yeah, like that sort of Gen Z is actually what it's called. Did you know I'm a millennial? I didn't know that until the other day. Yeah, I'm a millennial.
Wow.
I didn't know. I had no idea.
I am not.
Well, I don't know. You might be.
I might be at heart, but age-wise, I'm not.
So TikTok is sitting there scratching their heads going, well, we're really, really popular. Lots of people use us. It could be because that their Gen Z user, it's about 18 to 24 years old. Is sort of that Gen Z, maybe in the 16s, but that's that Gen Z that we're talking about demographic. And they actually lost users from 18% down to 11%. So it makes you wonder if all this noise in the news about TikTok stealing your data, if that has consumers worried. If I buy something on TikTok, is my data going to China? And I think if it were me, that is probably the most likely cause of such a decline, because it's a huge decline.
That has to be. And I'm not so sure that that's not 100% possible not as far as it being stolen. I'm saying that mindset, because you're right. There's so much negative publicity around TikTok.
Tons.
Why would I mean, I'll be honest, I don't even buy anything off Facebook. And that seems to be way more popular. But my wife's bought a few things, and I don't want to say she's gotten scammed, but it's not ever what she thinks it is. And I'm like, always go check it out, do some research. So I would be the same way, even on TikTok.
Anytime I'm skeptical about a website or a product I see, I check it in 3 places. I always go to Google, because it's going to give me a bunch of different results,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll check the different results. If the
Mm-hmm.
price is different, the description's different, I'll read
Mm-hmm.
reviews. The reviews are so important, especially if you see one saying scam or
Yes.
got the product not what I thought it was.
Yep. Exactly.
You know what I've come to learn?
What's
We're not that different. Us people in general aren't that different.
No.
And our expectations are basically the same. So
Yes.
if you're getting a product and you think it's one thing and you read a bunch of reviews that say, don't freaking buy it.
Right. That's right. Yeah, unless you look at the reviews and it's the opposite and it says it's so great and you realize the reviews are all fake or written in a way where you know it's like that wasn't generated by a person.
Yeah, well, like going back to one of our previous episodes, shout out to our previous episode. You guys can check that out. That came out last week about fake reviews and how they can be faked. They can also be removed from websites too. But if you look on there and you see a bunch of 2, 3, and 1-star reviews, and by a bunch, I mean more than 2%, more than likely you have a scam on your hands. They can reduce that number down, but not eliminate it. So if you see 1% in the 1, 2, 3 star, especially if there's a mixture of those, more than likely this is not the buy for you. Yep. And somebody else is selling the real product, but it's just going to be more expensive because it's the real deal.
That's right.
Pay attention to that stuff because fraud is out there on both sides. You got consumer fraud and you got business fraud, and it's really sad that it's still the wild, wild west out here in e-commerce.
It is, and that's the unfortunate part. You got to pick where you're going to play, and you got to trust who you're going to trust, and you may get it wrong. I mean, I haven't been scammed much, but I am very, very cautious on stuff like that, or I try to be. I'm probably not, but
the thing that happened to my daughter years ago, she wanted this toy, and online it looked like it was like this big, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when she got it, it was this big.
Of course. Now that has happened.
That's one of
that. Yeah. That's why I'm always trying to dig in and look at the dimensions of stuff. It's like, is that really what I'm getting? Because you don't never know.
You gotta
that's
read
the part I hate.
Not really actual size, or that they can have the picture showing a product like I could have like batteries and mouse, product together, but then in the description say batteries not included.
Right. Oh yeah. All of that.
You know how they get away with that? It's because in the description of the picture itself, if you write batteries to show size or to give size comparison, then it's misleading you, the consumer, to think the batteries are included. But they can do it because you're giving a size comparison, and a battery is a very common size comparison tool to use. So Amazon or eBay would allow it to say, oh, that's the consumer, but still they're going to side with the consumer when it comes to return. It's a stupid thing to do, but we see it, right? It's out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
And we are just about up on time. Another stupid thing to do would be not subscribing to Intangible Commerce.
If you haven't subscribed yet, if you haven't subscribed yet, I mean, you are losing
I'm
out.
Subscribed.
I am.
I've subscribed. I love our content.
I might have been one of the first ones to subscribe.
I bet you were the first, and you're certainly not going to be the last once the droves of people from Amazon come flooding in.
Yep. All I'm trying to figure out is how do I start hiding myself with all my podcast fame?
That is the challenge of fame. We're not fortunate, but we are famous.
That's right. Infamous.
Infamous. Everybody, thank you so much for joining the Yarbro Man and I on today's episode of Intangible Commerce. Welcome all of my Apple users. We love you all. You're so beautiful. And thank you so much.
Yep. Have a good one.
Send them off, Dave.
See you later.
And we're out.
Done.